नमो भगवते
ओम नमो भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो
ओम नमो
भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो
भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
आई
Reading
थिंक
from Srimad Bhagavatam.
33 से शुरू करना है शायद।
33 we did yesterday.
ओके जी, ठीक है।
Okay, you're right. Prabhuji read it as the next verse of 32. But yes, you're right. We did do this. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.33. Krishnagri Padma Madhu Madhulin na punar
कृष्णांघ्रि पद्म
vishrita
मधु
inna punar vishrita
लिम्ना पुनर्विस्मृता
श्रेष्ठा
Maya Guneshu Ramate Vrigya
माया
Vahesu
गुणेषु रमन्ते
माया गुणेशुरमते
Anyastu Kama Kamahata Atma Raja Paramastutam.
अन्यस्तु
काम सत आत्मा राज परमस्तु
Iheta Karma Yata Eva Raja Punasyat.
हेत कर्म यत
यत
एव
कर्म यतैव राज पुनः
स्यात्।
Somebody like read please.
मैं रीड प्रभु जी।
Please, please. Prabhu.
हरे कृष्णा। धन्यवाद प्रभु। Devotee who always lick the honey from the lotus feet of Lord Krishna do not care at all for material activities, which are performed under the three modes of material nature and which bring only misery. Indeed, devotees never give up the lotus feet of Krishna to return to the material activities. Others, however, who are addicted to Vedic rituals because they have neglected the service of Lord's lotus feet and enchant
हरे कृष्णा।
So you got mute.
Hare
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna. Sorry. I got a call and I rejected that call. Just, yeah. I'll continue reading. So, because they have neglected the service of Lord's lotus feet and are enchanted by lusty desire, sometimes perform acts of atonement. Nevertheless, being incompletely purified, they return to sinful activities again and again. A devotee's duty is to chant Hare Krishna mantra. One may sometimes chant with offense and sometimes without offense, but if one seriously adopt this process, he will achieve perfection, which cannot be achieved through Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement. Persons who are attached to the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies but do not believe in devotional service, who are advised atonement, but do not appreciate chanting of the Lord's holy name, fail to achieve the highest perfection. Devotees, therefore, being completely detached from material enjoyment, never give up Krishna consciousness for Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Those who are attached to Vedic ritualistic ceremonies because of lusty desire are subjected to tribulations of material existence again and again. Maharaj Parikshit has compared their activities to Kunjara Saucha, the bathing of an elephant. Hare Krishna.
Please go ahead and explain.
Okay, Prabhuji. So here, the glories are been given by Yamaraj, that this is the glories of devotees. In this verse, again, how glorious the Lord's devotees who are always licking honey from the lotus feet of Lord. And Prabhupada oftentimes mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam purport that a Krishna consciousness person who has understand the goal of life is Krishna has merely do the bodily activity just for the maintaining of the bodies. But to the soul and body together, just one has to work for that purpose. Other than that, one's goal of life is to remain Krishna consciousness and licking the honey of bhakti. So, three mode of material nature which is working 24 hours. So devotees, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, may go through the modes of nature, but constantly practicing and seriously surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord. Prabhupada mentions one can easily transcend these modes by coming to the platform of Sattva-guna, and from that Sattva-guna platform, when one become more serious and following the path of devotional service more rigorously, then one can achieve Visuddha Sattva-guna. So that way one can transcend the moods, So Vedic ritualistic ceremonies who are like our acharyas mentions Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, ye sab Vishera Bhanda. So this is basically not going to give much benefit by these Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. And previous verses also we have studied. It has been mentioned that Vedic ritualistic merely give any benefit other than pure Shuddha Bhakti. So by Vedic karmakandic process, one may promote to a higher planet by enjoying millions of years, thousands of years in Swargaloka or other planetary systems. But that will be Kshine Punya Martya Loke Vishanti. So that Punya will be finished. One has to again come down and suffer, and one has to go through the cycle of birth and death. So that's the reason the intelligent person, Prabhupada always refer that intelligent person has to be focused on devotional service, chanting Hare Krishna mantra and following regulative principles, and keeping the goal of life to go to back to Godhead, and that which is rarely achieved in this material world. People who are too materialistic and are having the goal that material sense gratification or accumulating wealth, it is not possible for them other than a devotee who is sincerely serving the God and the Guru, Sadhu and Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. I would like to request anyone else like to comment on the purport. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Would somebody else like to comment on the purport? So here Prabhupada is saying a devotee's duty is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And in Kali Yuga, that is the only duty, as in primary duty. he has specifically told that one should spend at least chant 16 rounds as a minimum. One may sometimes chant with offenses, sometimes without offenses. But if he seriously adopts this process, he will achieve perfection, which cannot be achieved through Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement. Today, if we do it for the sake of doing it, because we feel some moral responsibility or we feel that we are mentally at peace, maybe that is, like Prabhuji saying yesterday, sometimes okay, but not 100% all the time. But our primary duty, as Prabhupada says here, is devotee's duty is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and slowly do it offenselessly. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Prakriti Kriyamanani Pune Karmani Sarvasahara. The spirit soul is bewildered by the influence of false ego and thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the modes of nature. So here too, devotees will lick the honey from the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord's names and form and the Lord himself are not different. And as one keeps chanting the Lord's names, he would not at all care for material activities which are performed under three modes of material nature. And this bring only misery, and one is really not, before one knows it, one gets entangled more and more. The only way of unentangling oneself is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Would somebody else take that one, please? Okay, we go on. 6.3.34. Itam Svabharatar Kaditam Bhagavan Mahitvam.
Itam
Idam Savali
Bhagavan
Patitam Bhagavata Mahitvam
Samsmritya Vismita Dio Yama Kinkaraste.
Samsritya Vismita Dhyo Yama Kinkaras
Naiva Achyutya Shaya Janam Pratishankamananam.
Naiva
Janam
Pratisankamana
Prashtum cha bibhyati tata prabriti smaraja rajam.
Drashtum cha Bibhyati Tata
Bhati
Prabriti Maharaja.
Very good.
Please go.
Thank you, Roji. Translation proper by Sri Prabhupada ki share. Translation. After hearing from the mouth of their master about the external glory of the Lord and his name, fame and attributes, the Yamdutas is struck with wonder. So then, as soon as they see a devotee, they fear him and dare not look at him again. Purport. Since this incident, the Yamduta have given up the dangerous behavior of approaching devotees. For the Yamduta, a devotee is dangerous. Well, I think the ending of the chapter, and we mentioned from the very beginning how Ajamil affair started, is that Yamdutas misunderstood him and went to take his body. But they did not know that he was a great devotee. So great devotees are always taken care of by the Vishnu Dutas. So Vishnu Dutas were there, and we all have read about the interaction with Yamdutas and the Vishnu Dutas. In fact, these are the lessons for weak people. When the Yamdutas were telling which body they are taking away to the Vishnu Duta, in fact, it was a lesson for weak people. Similarly, when the Vishnu Dutas react to that, this was explained to us that those who are pious people, they how to do it. And when the case came to the Yamraj himself, he said, look, I am your Lord, but Krishna is the Lord of everybody. Vishnu is the Lord of everybody. And he is my Lord also. And he doesn't want that anybody should harm his devotees. And then we have read the various explanations and the qualifications how a devotee, and with the different magnitudes, etc. And those who are even doing only by different efforts, making a lot of mistakes also in chanting the name of the Lord, but are the devotee. Vishnu takes care of him, and nobody can harm such people. We'll be coming to this end. Finally, as he says, Yamduta says, when Yamduta came to know that even their Lord, that the Yamraj, is so much scared of the devotees, because they don't think if the devotees are harmed, Vishnu will immediately come and rescue that. So they have decided from that time, nobody should touch a devotee of Vishnu, and nobody should dare to look at them again. So this was lesson taken by that, and it's summing up here, that in future, no Yamduta ever approaches devotee. So that's my understanding better. Please, you can guide it. Hare Krishna.
Somebody else take that, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just a random thought that came to my mind. Such a position that Yamadutas have, they cannot come in devotion in connection with a devotee. Though they heard it from the mouth of Yamraj, who is such a huge devotee of Krishna, yet somehow their service, the kind of role they are in their services, stay away from devotees. It's just a awkward position to be in. Just a thought to share.
Could you
Sorry,
just repeat
Prabhuji.
the last sentence? Could you just repeat
Ji,
the last sentence?
I was just saying, such a awkward position to be in when being a Yamduta, that despite of serving Yamraji,
Yamraj.
who is an exalted devotee, yet it's the matter of consciousness, I think, that they could not take his association, in the sense that he explained who Hari is and how the devotees are exalted. Yet the service that they can only offer, sad to be in such a consciousness that they have to stay away from devotees. Maybe that's the service that they can offer.
Sure. And like just hearing this story of Ajamal, they too get purified, because then they truly understand the glories of the name of the So we go on to the next verse, 6.3.35. Itihasam imam guhyam.
Idam Guhyam.
Bhagavan Kumbha Sambhavaha.
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Kumbha
Sambhava.
Katayam Asa Malaya.
Kathayam Asamalaya.
Asino Harim Archayan.
Asino Harim Archayan.
Translation. In the great sage, Agastya, the son of Kumbha, was residing in the Malaya hills and worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I approached him and he explained to me this confidential history. Thus ends Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 6th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Yamaraja Instructions Messengers. So, go to chapter 4, the Hamsa Guhya prayers offered to the Lord by Prajapati Daksha.
May I read this, Prabhuji?
Sure.
ठीक है जी. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ji ki jai. Chapter 4, the Hansaguhya prayers offered to the Lord by Prajapati Daksha. After Maharaj Parikshit appealed to Sukadev Goswami to describe in further detail the creation of the living entities within this universe, Sukadev Goswami informed him that when the Prachetas, the 10th son of Prachin Barahi, entered the sea to execute the austerities, the planet Earth was neglected because of the absence of a king. Naturally, many weeds and unnecessary trees grew, and no food grains were produced. Indeed, all the land became like a forest. When the 10 Prachetas came out of the sea and saw the entire world full of trees, they were very angry with the trees and decided to destroy them all to rectify the situation. Thus, the Prachetas created wind and fire to burn the trees to ashes. Soma, however, the king of the moon and the king of all the vegetation, forbade the Prachetas to destroy the trees, since the trees are the source of fruits and flowers for all living beings. Just to satisfy the Prachetas, Soma gave them a beautiful girl born from Locha Apsara. By the semen of all the Prachetas, Daksha was born of that girl. In the beginning, Daksha created all the demigods, demon, and human beings. But when he found the population not increasing properly, he took sannyas and went to Vindhya mountain, where he underwent severe austerities and offered Lord Vishnu a particular prayer known as Hansa Guhya, by which Lord Vishnu became very pleased with him, and the content of the prayers were as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul Lord Hari, is the controller of both the living entities and the material nature. He is self-sufficient and self-effulgent. As the subject matter of perception is not the cause of our perceiving senses, so the living entities, although within his body, does not cause his eternal friend, the super soul, who is the cause of creation of all the senses. Because of the living entity's ignorance, his senses are engaged with material objects. Since the living entity is alive, he can understand the creation of this material world to some extent, but he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the conception of the body, mind, and intelligence. Nevertheless, great sages who are always in meditation can see the personal form of the Lord within their hearts. Since an ordinary living being is materially contaminated, his words and intelligence are also material. Therefore, he cannot ascertain the Supreme Personality of Godhead by manipulating his material senses. The conception of God derived through material senses is inaccurate because the Supreme Lord is beyond the material senses. But when one engages his senses in devotional service, the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed on the platform of the soul. When that Supreme Godhead becomes the aim of one's life, one is said to have attained spiritual knowledge. The Supreme Brahman is the cause of all causes. Because he originally existed before the creation, he is the original cause of everything, both material and spiritual, and his existence is independent. Therefore, the Lord has the potency called avidya, the illusionary energy, which induces the false arguer to think himself perfect, and which induces the illusionary energy to bewilder the conditioned soul. That Supreme Brahman, the super soul, is very affectionate to his devotees. To bestow mercy upon them, he discloses his form, name, attributes, qualities to be worshipped within this material world. Unfortunately, however, those who are materially absorbed worship various demigods. As the air passes over the lotus flower and carries the scent of the flower with it, or the air sometimes carries dust and therefore assumes colors, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears as various demigods according to the desires of various foolish worshippers. But actually, he is the Supreme Truth, Lord Vishnu. To fulfill the desires of his devotees, he appears in various incarnations, and therefore there is no need to worship the demigods. Being very satisfied by the prayers of Daksha, Lord Vishnu appeared before Daksha with 8 arms. The Lord was dressed in yellow garment and had a blackish complexion. Understanding that Daksha was very eager to follow the path of enjoyment, the Lord awarded him the potency to enjoy the illusionary energy. The Lord offered him the daughter of Panchajana named Asikni, who was suitable for Maharaj Daksh to enjoy in sex. Indeed, Daksh received his name because he was very expert in sex life. After awarding this benediction, Lord Vishnu disappeared. Hare Krishna ji. Should we read the next verse, Prabhuji, or we want to discuss this?
And we can discuss this again with Prabhuji, but I think in a sense that the prayers, the Hansa Kriya prayer, it's a lot of what we have read both in Bhagavad Gita and what we have been reading in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam so far. So, and I mean, a living being is materially contaminated, and everything that he does or speaks is also material. And because of the material senses, one cannot ascertain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And again, one engages his senses in devotional service. This again we see from Bhagavad Gita. Then the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed on the platform of the soul, not on the platform of the body. So one has to first understand that one is not the body, but one is the soul. When in that conception one engages in devotional service, then one slowly, the eternal Lord is revealed. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is a cause of all causes because he existed before the creation. This again we have seen in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, where he talks of his appearances and his how he originally passed on the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to the sun god. So the Supreme Brahman or the Super Soul is very affectionate to his devotees and bestows mercy upon them. Only to them he discloses his form, name, attributes, and qualities to be worshipped within this material world. So here again we see that within the material world that one is engaged in material nature and one does not appreciate as much the name, form, attributes even when given to us, like we chant with offenses. So that means we do not truly appreciate what this chanting means and how it is helping to purify ourselves. So, but the Lord, being very affectionate to devotees, is giving his name, form, and attributes to devotees in the material world. You can also see that many people, although bestowed with this benediction, are unable to truly appreciate what is being given to them. And since they are unable to appreciate or come onto the platform, they do not truly get into this path of devotional service, which will slowly purify them from the mode of ignorance to the mode of goodness. So, being materially absorbed, they worship many demigods. So then, the last part is a little confusing, that Daksha praying all of this, and the Lord understands that he was eager to follow the path of enjoyment. So, I mean, here, the first part, it was like he was frustrated with the creation, and then he started praying to the Lord. And here, the Lord finally understands that he wants to enjoy himself, and he awards that enjoyment. That part is, yeah, I mean, that we've seen with quite a few of the pastimes in Bhagavatam, that a lot of the elevated sages who are interested with the increasing the population of creation do get this benediction from the Lord himself. So that is something that cannot be equated to what we materially call enjoyment in today's Kali Yuga at all. It cannot, although one would tend towards comparing it, but we are not on the same platform and we cannot compare the same. Hare Krishna. Would somebody else like to add to that, please?
But why is it titled Hamsa Guha?
Hamsa Guha. Okay.
Maybe it may come later on, but if you may understand, it's with Hamsa Guha prayers. So it will be easy for us to follow for the time. Guha means secret, confidential. Hamsa
That is true.
means Hamsa can be Baba Vishnu.
One second. A devotee is always living in Sayana Hamsudriya. Yes. No, not very clear to me.
No, we'll talk to Guruji. Tomorrow we'll ask you. Sure. Thank you, Prabhu.
So Hamsa or Swan accepts milk from a mixture of milk and water and rejects the water.
Hamsa is swan also. But the swan, that means the person praying is a swan. That's why I thought
No. The Hamsa or Swan accepts milk from a mixture of milk and water and is able to reject the water. Similarly, nature of persons who have taken to spiritual life and Krishna consciousness understand Krishna to be the life and soul of everyone, is that they cannot give up Krishna Katha or topics about Krishna at any moment. So I guess in this material life, which is mixed with, where there is devotional service and material nature, one has to be like the Hamsa or Swan and then take to Krishna Katha on topics about Krishna and reject everything that is material. That could be one way of interpreting it.
Could be, yes, that could be one way. And we will come to know as we proceed further. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. So we can read one verse and then we can stop. Sri Raja Vacha Devasura Nirnam Sargo
Irajvacha Devastero Narmo Sargo
Naganam Riga Sinam
Niganam Vidyam Palcham
Amasikas Vaya Prokto
Tamasika Yavo Prakto
Yastu Swayam Bhuve Antare
Yastu
Tasyeva Vyasam Ichchami
Tashyam
Nyatum Te Bhagavan Yata
Janam Bhagwan Yata
Anusagam Yaya Saktya
Anusargam Vya Chakya
Tasarja Bhagavan Paraha.
Tasya Bhagwan Pata. May it move.
Translation. Please read for me.
We go to okay. Translation, purportation so far. Translation. The Blessed King said to Sukadeva Goswami, my dear Lord, the demigods, demons, human beings, nagas, beasts, and birds were created during the reign of Shambhu Manu. You have spoken about the creation briefly in the third canto. I wish to know about it elaborately. I also wish to know about the potency of the Supreme Personality Godhead by which he brought about the secondary creation. And I think this is directly thing only, because in third canto, we have already read about the creation, various creations, etc. Now here the Parikshit Maharaj wants to know from Sukadeva Goswami about others, how the other things like birds, trees, and other creatures were created. And then he also wants to know that what are the other potencies, Supreme Personality Godhead, which he brought about the secondary creation. Now the secondary creation was created, he wants to know about it. I think subsequent paragraphs will speak about it. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Sure. Now 6.4.3 Sri Suta Vacha Iti Samprashnam Akarnya
Sri Sutavacha Iti Samprasnam Akaranya
Rajarishir Vadarayane
Rajane Bhatyayane
Pratinandya Mahayogi
Patanindya Mahayogi
Jagada Muni Sattamaha.
Jagad Muni.
Translation, Suta Goswami said, O great sages, assembled at name Saranya. After the great yogi Sukadev Goswami heard King Parikshit's inquiry, he praised it and thus replied. So we can stop here. We can continue again with Prabhuji from tomorrow 6.4.4. Anybody else has any comments? Fine. So let's stop. Yes,
Thanks for
Prabhuji.
that. Text 4 we can discuss tomorrow.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you to all devotees. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat
Srila
pranam.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Dandavat pranam.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.